I think buying video games from my local Goodwill store is starting to dry up. I think this all started about 3 to 4 weeks ago when I walked into this local Goodwill store, and I ended up only being able to find this Madden 17 for the PlayStation 4, which kind of got me thinking they were revamping the store, and the game section was not that great. But just because I went there once and I didn't find any games didn't make me think that until the next time that I went back into my local Goodwill store in search of video games, and I checked out this rack which only had one game on the whole rack, and I thought about picking it up until I realized that, of course, it's missing the disc, which is a total bummer. And then in the very back I found a $1 case. This might work for a Switch, but it is just a random non-brand, so not anything really that great. But then again, around this time, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I ended up hearing rumors that this local Goodwill store was starting to sell stuff online on a few of their Goodwill websites, which had me worried. So of course, last week I had to go back in and see if I could find any video games, and I actually did this time, which is pretty awesome. We've got 2 Wii games, nothing I had to pick up. But in the very back, I did end up finding this Knuckles figure plush thing, as well as this big Sonic, but honestly, I don't really need either one of these. However, I did find this Shadow the Hedgehog Squishmallow, and for $4, I had to pick it up to throw it on my game shelves, because this thing is definitely awesome. But that's not all I ended up finding. I haven't seen one of these Atari flashbacks in a Goodwill in a very, very long time. Now, they did want too much money for this, but it is cool to see, as well as I saw a few Disney Infinity games or figures, but honestly, this was like a good sight to see because I ended up finding some video games, a game console, kind of, if you want to call it the flashback console, as well as some plushies, which are definitely cool to see. I love to find those things for my game collection, but that meant maybe they weren't putting it on the website yet because, well, I couldn't find either one of their Goodwill finds or Shop Goodwill that actually ended up having my store or area on there, so that could be a good news. So I headed into it again last Friday in search of video games, and all I ended up finding was this Disneyland Connect game for the Xbox 360. So I'm not getting my hopes too high, but I still think there's definitely potential here. And I thought about it over the weekend. Is my Goodwill store drying up from video games, or is it just kind of the season? I know they're getting ready for Halloween, so I ended up having to go back into Goodwill today to see if I could find any video games. And unfortunately, the only game I could find was this Assassin's Creed Brotherhood in the back, which is kind of a bummer. But I don't think it's time to worry just yet about this Goodwill drying up. I definitely think it's starting to slow down, which, like I said, could be the season, or maybe they realistically are pulling all the video games that they find, holding them back, because I didn't find any in the last month. I've only found one Atari flashback, which was the console. Then I found a handful of games, maybe 5 to 10, as well as Disney Infinity, if you want to count that. But that is not going to completely keep me from going to the store. I probably go every once in a while, maybe once a week, maybe a little less than that, just because when I go there, if I don't find anything, it's kind of a waste of time. But that's not to say that this Goodwill isn't great. I mean, I found amazing things like Sealed, The Last of Us for the PS4 for $6. I already have this in my collection, so being able to keep the Sealed was totally awesome. I've even found Switch games there. This was a $6 Switch game. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is an amazing game, and it's crazy that I found it here, as well as some expensive games. We've got Deadpool for the Xbox One for $6 now. It wasn't super expensive when I picked this up, but this game is going through the roof. I have no intention on selling any of this stuff, but also Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. If I said that wrong, please don't roast me in the comments. For $4, like, you can't find things like this in the wild other than going hunting at Goodwill and stuff like that. Oh, and I almost forgot, I've found consoles at this Goodwill. This is a Nintendo DS Lite. I got boxed for $50, as well as I've bought tons of Wiis, whether it's just like a Wii and a few games, or a Wii with a big bundle of games. This Goodwill has actually had some good stuff, so just because I'm kind of going through it right now, I'm not 100% confident enough to say that this Goodwill is dried up, but I'm starting to get there, or starting to lean that way. Now, I will say I have gone to this Goodwill for like 6 or 7 years in a row, probably at least once a month consistently. So it could just be slowing down for the season, or it could be transitioning to more online. Because I have noticed that the Goodwills in my area are starting to get more corporate. They kind of cleaned up a lot of the employees. They kind of have managers doing a lot more here in my area, which is kind of a bummer, because that means that prices aren't just going to be $2.99 on things. They're probably going to start charging and looking things up a little bit more. But they've kind of been doing that for a little bit, but I think I need to keep going. I want to kind of stay hopeful a little bit. I mean, these are some amazing finds that I found, and there's tons others. These are just quick ones that I remembered off the top of my head. I'm sure if I go through this game section here and look for all the Goodwill stickers, there's like a ton that I leave on the games because I love to see how much I paid for them. And I think that this Goodwill could potentially be a good place to go, but we'll just have to kind of see what the future holds for it. But I am a little disappointed. Usually, if I go inconsistently for a month, I'll find something, but this month just was a really bad month, I guess, for video games when it came to this Goodwill. I stopped going to another one in my area just simply because they weren't carrying video games anymore. And this one kind of became my go-to, but I might have to change things up and start going to more other thrift stores or pawn shops, or kind of branch out from just Goodwill, because it's been a little dry lately, but that's perfectly okay. I have found some amazing stuff at this one, but that's not going to stop me, and I hope it doesn't stop you either. I hope this video kind of shows you that, yes, you can find things, or sometimes things could get bad, but just stay on the bright side, stay positive, stay consistently out hunting, because the more you're out there, the more likely you're going to stumble upon something awesome. So I'm going to get out of here and stop ranting, I guess, about this Goodwill. So if you haven't checked that video out, you should definitely do so. But what do you think? Is this Goodwill that I frequently go to drying up, or I just jumping the gun here and next week I could find something crazy? Comment down below and let me know. But I mean, if it is dried up, I feel like these are some good pickups and I'm happy with it. But I'm going to get out of here, so check out that video out if you haven't already.